Welcome back to Count Me In. I am Ace podcast about all things affecting the accounting and finance world. I'm your host, Adam Larson, and this is episode 140 of our series. In today's conversation, you will hear from Dana Pascarella, VP of Finance at Wesco International, as she talks about staff development. Dana is a finance executive with extensive accounting experience at a global publicly held Fortune 500 organization. She is particularly skilled in mergers and acquisitions, debt financings, business growth strategies, and technology upgrades, among other areas. But she is especially passionate about developing her finance staff to ensure organizational success. Let's head over to the conversation and hear more about it now.
So Dana, from a finance perspective, to kick things off here, what are some of the key areas you focus on when it comes to staff development?
Yeah, so ultimately, I'm focused on providing my staff, a foundation that will allow them to deliver solutions in the future. So, obviously that's, teaching them the skills to become an expert in their area, right? I want them to become an expert. I need them to have, the basics, the fundamentals, the technical skills. But also, I think it's so important, especially with the younger staff, that they really start to understand and learn those softer skills. So organization, adaptability, communication, those soft skills are so important and can truly take years to learn. And you want them to be able to really be able to draw upon that total foundation, so that the technical skill plus the soft skill will really provide them something to draw upon as they move forward in their career.
Yeah, it's interesting. At IMA, obviously, we focus on management accounting, accounting and finance, and the technical skills, the emerging skills are obviously highly important. But we also really try to make sure that the foundation, the leadership skills and the ethics, all of that is equally emphasized, I would say, and a lot of the things that we do now, granted, it's for members as opposed to staff, but I think the focus is really there. And, it's all about developing that pipeline, right? And I think that's kind of what you were touching on. So from your experience, from, again, finance and staff, when it comes to developing your staff, what kind of methods or types of trainings have you attempted, implemented? What kind of training has been the most effective for you and your staff?
Yeah, so definitely every year, always focus on goal setting with a couple of stretch goals, right? I want to challenge them, pull them out of their comfort zone a little bit. But something as simple as regular communication, having one-on-ones, and being clear and providing constructive criticism to really help them, improve. If you're not providing constant and regular feedback, I don't think individuals know where to begin or what to improve on. So I really think that communication is super important. Cross-training, getting folks into, maybe areas that aren't their area of expertise, but allowing that cross-training to really build out their expertise, involving folks in a new project or a responsibility for a short period of time if something comes along. Again, that's part of kind of pulling them out of their comfort zone, but also seeing how they do with these new projects and give them a role, obviously guide them, but let them be the decision maker to an extent. Obviously, as the leader, I'd have to provide guidance, but let them participate to understand the different perspectives and see how they would answer the questions, and let them feel kind of part of that process. I also think, anytime you can provide a staff, an offsite experience, I think that, especially in finance, right? We're just the behind the scenes books and numbers. So when you can give an employee an opportunity to kind of better understand the business, the operational side of what's going on, be it visit a branch, an office, accompany an internal audit to a site visit, visit a customer, a vendor. I think that really helps, especially some of the newer staff, really put the full picture together. So not only understanding the the numbers, but also understanding the why, the how, and how the business is running. I just think it helps to put that full picture together and is just so much more valuable as they move forward in their career.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a lot of great practices there from my own personal experiences. I can say, a lot of what you've shared that I've been through, it certainly works. And it really helps with that, that stickiness. It makes everything kind of make sense, big picture, like you were saying. But I do want to kind of just follow up on what we're talking about here. You've mentioned a few different skills, but when it comes specifically to finance, what are some of the skills you see that are most important? When it comes to staff development, we talk a lot about upskilling or reskilling. Where is the focus today?
I mean, clearly you have to have that mathematical, analytical skill set, right? I think, today also having pretty strong IT skills are pretty important. And that's all part of kind of that technical skill. But I also think persuasiveness, decisiveness, interpersonal communication skills are, it's all part of finance, right? It's more than just that technical skill. It's how do you deliver that technical answer? How do you provide that with confidence, right? It's one thing just to give a number, but if you provide it with confidence and decisiveness, then your audience they have comfort in you and what you're delivering. So it goes back to, not only those technical skills, but having strong soft skills.
That's great. And again, I can really see how everything you're sharing comes together. I can relate personally to some of my experiences. So, like I said, a lot of great ideas, perspective here. I'm curious when it comes to thinking about these ideas and trying to put a plan together. How do you go about mapping out these needs? How do you go about picking these different practices to implement? Is it an individual basis? Is it by department? How do you go about planning your staff development?
Yeah, so I think it is important to kind of first understand the individual's career aspiration, their personality. You want to make sure you're stretching and challenging the right person and the person that's, you're giving them challenges that fit their personality, right? So you want to align project and work with those desires, because if there's a mismatch, it won't be effective, right? But it is about understanding that person, their career goals, their personality, and providing challenges and stretch goals to kind of push them outside of their comfort zone and see how they perform. Some people, they're just, you're steady Eddie, but some people have a desire to continue to move up in their career. And so you would align projects and responsibilities accordingly. So for me, it's always been understanding that individual person and their desires and their personalities, and then aligning the work accordingly.
So I will, wrap this conversation up in just a minute, but, I want to tie everything together first before we get to our last question. Obviously, so much has changed in the last year and a half, the whole, global business environment. But as far as, your experience in finance over, multiple years, how have you seen the skills, the training methods, the different staff development plans change over time?
Yeah, well, I think last year was an interesting example of some of that change, right? We saw a macroeconomic environment that kind of quickly became unstable. There was a tremendous amount of uncertainty globally. Companies' goals and plans changed pretty quickly. We in finance had to be flexible in our approach. I think the basic skills were still important, but we quickly saw an emphasis placed on IT skills and the reliance on technology to stay connected and be successful in our day-to-day challenges. So, to some extent, we had to change our approach. We had to figure out how to use or apply kind of those historical methods, but in a virtual environment. So I really think the skills are kind of always the fundamental skills necessary for finance. But I think last year was a great example of how we kind of had to change our approach to teach those skills and to stay connected in a day-to-day virtual environment.
So this will be my last question, I promise. But, as far as the different skills that you've mentioned, the different methods that you've, again, implemented, plans you've put in place for individuals, what are some of the benefits? What can somebody expect to, what kind of rewards can they reap from effective staff development? And what does that really do, not just for the individual, but for the organization as well?
Yeah, well, I think when an employee feels supported, valued, cared for, they feel that the company is investing in them. I think, in return, you get employee engagement. You get an employee that's willing to work for a company and help to drive results. You get that loyalty, the reduction in turnover, and all of that. Increased employee engagement, I believe, leads to improved performance. So also from a company's perspective, you have a trained up employee, if you will, that can easily be slotted within different roles in the company. So it creates not only opportunity for employees looking to kind of grow, advance in their career, but it also provides an organization the ability to be able to look within to hire before going external. So, it's beneficial for both the employee and the organization, and it improves morale. It just creates a strong, healthy environment.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.